Congratulations to our newly promoted team leads, Marcus announced, his voice echoing through the packed conference room. Sarah, you'll be heading the East Coast Division. James, welcome to your new role in strategic partnerships. The applause felt hollow in my ears as I watched colleagues I'd trained receive the positions I'd applied for months ago. My hands remained folded in my lap while others clapped enthusiastically. 3 years at Pinnacle Marketing, and I was still stuck in the same mid-level account coordinator role. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd personally onboarded both Sarah and James, teaching them our client management systems and sharing strategies I'd developed through countless late nights. As for compensation adjustments, Marcus continued, scrolling through his tablet, the promotion tier receives 15% increases effective immediately. More applause. My throat tightened as I calculated what that meant for my own stagnant salary. After the meeting, Sarah approached me, her expression genuinely apologetic. Seline, I hope you know how much I've learned from you. This promotion, it doesn't change that you're the best account strategist we have. I managed to smile. Congratulations, Sarah, you'll do great. But inside, frustration burned. I'd brought in our 3 largest clients this year, including the campaign that saved our biggest account from jumping ship. Yet here I sat, watching others climb the ladder I'd helped them build. Walking back to my desk, I noticed the email notification blinking on my screen. The sender made my heart skip. Elena Rodriguez, Global Director at Meridian Industries, our most valuable client. The subject line read, Urgent, Restructuring Discussion. Something told me this wasn't just another project update. Sometimes the universe has a way of opening doors just when you think you're trapped in a room with no exits. If you're enjoying Seline's story so far, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single comment and love connecting with our global community. Trust me, you won't want to miss what Elena's email reveals and how it completely changes the game for Seline. I stared at Elena's email for a full minute before opening it. Meridian Industries represented 40% of our agency's revenue, and Elena had been my primary contact for 18 months. Unlike most corporate executives, she actually remembered the people behind the presentations, a rarity that made working with her team genuinely enjoyable. Seline, the message began, I hope this finds you well. I'm reaching out directly because Meridian is expanding our marketing operations globally, and frankly, you're the only person I trust to understand what we need. My pulse quickened as I continued reading. We're establishing an in-house marketing division and need someone to head it up. Your strategic thinking on our Q3 campaign was exactly the kind of innovation we want to replicate across all our markets. Would you be interested in discussing a Director of Global Marketing Strategy position? The compensation package starts at $180,000 plus equity and full relocation assistance if needed. I had to read that number twice. $180,000, nearly double my current salary, for a position that sounded tailor-made for everything I'd been trying to prove I could do. I'd be in your city next week for meetings, and I'd love to take you to lunch to discuss this opportunity. I know you're currently contracted with Pinnacle, but I also know talent when I see it. Sometimes the best partnerships require bold moves. The timing felt surreal. Hours after watching others receive promotions I deserved, the door to something bigger had literally landed in my inbox. My phone buzzed, a text from my roommate asking about dinner plans. Normal life continuing while my world quietly shifted on its axis. I forwarded Elena's email to my personal account and closed my laptop. That evening, I researched Meridian's expansion plans and organizational structure. This wasn't just a job offer. It was an invitation to build something from the ground up, to finally have my strategic vision implemented rather than filtered through layers of management who took the credit for the results. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely excited about my career. The next morning brought an email I'd been dreading. All hands meeting today at 2 p.m., major client update. From Marcus. These unscheduled company-wide meetings usually meant either spectacular news or complete disaster. Given yesterday's promotion announcements, I suspected this involved the major account restructuring rumors that had been circulating. I spent the morning updating client reports, trying to focus while my mind wandered to Elena's offer. During lunch, I'd crafted a careful response expressing interest and confirming our meeting for Thursday. The prospect of leaving felt both thrilling and terrifying. "You seem distracted," noted Kevin, our lead designer, sliding into the chair across from my desk. "Everything okay?" Kevin was one of the few colleagues I genuinely trusted, someone whose success hadn't come at others' expense. "Just processing yesterday's announcements," I said honestly. He lowered his voice. "Between you and me, I think Marcus made a mistake overlooking you again. Sarah's great, but you've got the client relationships and strategic thinking this place actually runs on." Before I could respond, Jen from HR approached with a stack of papers. "Seline, Marcus wants to see you in his office before the all-hands meeting." My stomach dropped. One-on-one meetings with Marcus rarely ended well, especially when he was stressed about major client issues. I knocked on his door at 1:45, finding him hunched over his computer, tie loosened, and coffee-stained papers scattered across his desk. "Sit down," he said without looking up. "We need to discuss the Meridian situation." The words hit like ice water. How could he possibly know about Elena's email already? "I've been reviewing their account metrics," Marcus continued, finally meeting my eyes, "and there's some concerning trends in engagement rates. As their primary contact, I need you to prepare a comprehensive retention strategy presentation for today's meeting." Relief and irritation flooded through me simultaneously. He didn't know about Elena's offer. He was just doing what he always did, assigning me extra work to solve problems while others received recognition. "How comprehensive?" I asked, checking my watch. "The meeting starts in 15 minutes. "Whatever it takes to keep them happy. This account cannot walk away, Seline. Too much depends on it." Including my own secret negotiating position, I thought, but didn't say. The conference room filled quickly with all 50 employees, creating the kind of nervous energy that accompanied major announcements. I sat in my usual spot along the wall, laptop open to the hastily prepared Meridian retention presentation Marcus had demanded 20 minutes earlier. "Thank you all for gathering on short notice," Marcus began, his usual commanding presence slightly strained. "We're here to discuss a critical development with our largest client, Meridian." Murmurs rippled through the room. I noticed Sarah and James exchanging concerned glances from their newly elevated positions at the main table. "As you know, Meridian represents nearly half our revenue stream. This morning, I received communication indicating they're reassessing their marketing partnership strategy." He clicked to his first slide, showing Meridian's logo alongside concerning downward trending arrows. I nearly laughed at the dramatic presentation. Elena's email had been warm and professional, focused on expansion rather than dissatisfaction. But Marcus had a talent for transforming client communications into crisis narratives that positioned him as the heroic problem solver. "The situation requires immediate strategic intervention. We need to demonstrate our continued value through innovative campaign proposals and enhanced service delivery." For 15 minutes, Marcus outlined his comprehensive retention strategy, a plan that heavily featured ideas I'd pitched in previous client meetings, now packaged as executive initiatives. The pattern was so familiar it barely registered anymore. "Questions before we dive into our action items?" Marcus asked. That's when my phone lit up with an incoming call. The conference room caller ID display showed Elena Rodriguez, Meridian Industries. The timing was so perfect it felt orchestrated by the universe itself. Every eye in the room focused on me as the phone continued ringing. Marcus paused mid-sentence, clearly calculating whether to interrupt a client call during his dramatic presentation about retaining that very client. "I should take this," I said, reaching for my phone. "It might be related to the concerns you've mentioned." Marcus nodded reluctantly, and I answered on speakerphone. "Hi, Elena. You're actually reaching me during our company meeting. Is everything all right?" Elena's warm laughter filled the room. Perfect timing then. I was calling with exciting news I wanted to share directly with you. The room went completely silent, and I caught Marcus's expression shifting from concern to confusion as Elena's tone clearly contradicted his crisis narrative. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important, Elena continued, her voice filling the suddenly silent conference room. But our board meeting concluded early, and I couldn't wait to share the news. I could feel Marcus's eyes boring into me, his carefully crafted crisis presentation forgotten as Elena's enthusiasm radiated through the speaker. The Meridian Board has officially approved our new Global Marketing Strategy Director position, Elena announced. After reviewing your portfolio and strategic recommendations over the past 18 months, you're our unanimous first choice, Seline. Gasps echoed around the room. Sarah covered her mouth in shock, while James sat frozen, pen halfway to his notepad. I caught sight of Marcus gripping the edge of the podium, his knuckles white. The compensation package we discussed, $180,000 base salary plus performance bonuses and equity, has been approved. We're also prepared to offer a $25,000 signing bonus and full relocation assistance. $180,000. The number hung in the air like a challenge to everything Marcus had just said about my capabilities and worth. Yesterday, he'd passed me over for promotions paying $65,000. Today, our biggest client was offering me nearly triple my current salary. Elena, I managed, maintaining professional composure while my heart raced. This is incredibly generous. I'm honored by the board's confidence. There's more, Elena continued. We'd like you to transition into an advisory role for our marketing partnerships, which means you'd be evaluating and managing relationships with agencies like Pinnacle. Your insight into what works and what doesn't would be invaluable. The implications hit me like lightning. I would essentially become Marcus's client, with the power to influence Meridian's continued partnership with Pinnacle Marketing. The role reversal was so complete, it felt like narrative justice. Marcus cleared his throat. Elena, this is Marcus Thompson, Pinnacle's CEO. While we're thrilled about Meridian's expansion, Seline is a valued team member under contract. Actually, Elena interrupted smoothly, our legal team has already reviewed standard agency contracts. There's nothing preventing Seline from accepting our offer, especially since we're not a competing marketing firm. I watched Marcus's face cycle through emotions: confusion, anger, panic, and finally a desperate attempt at damage control. Of course, he said, forcing a smile. We want what's best for Seline. Perhaps we should discuss transition timelines that work for everyone. The meeting had transformed from his retention crisis to my career breakthrough, with 48 colleagues witnessing the complete reversal of power dynamics. Elena laughed. I think that's between Seline and your HR department, Marcus. Seline, should we schedule a formal meeting to discuss details? I looked around the room at faces displaying mixtures of shock, admiration, and envy. I'd love to discuss this further, Elena. Should we continue this conversation privately? Absolutely. Call me after your meeting ends, and congratulations. I look forward to working with you in your new capacity. The line went dead, leaving 50 people staring at me in absolute silence. The silence stretched for what felt like eternity before Marcus cleared his throat, attempting to regain control of his derailed meeting. Well, that's certainly unexpected news. Let's continue with our scheduled agenda. But the energy in the room had completely shifted. Instead of focusing on Marcus's slides, colleagues kept glancing at me with mixtures of amazement and envy. I had become the center of attention in a way that clearly unsettled him. Actually, Tom from accounting said, shouldn't we congratulate Seline on her offer? This seems like pretty big news. A few people started clapping, creating an awkward momentum Marcus couldn't stop without looking petty. The applause felt surreal, finally receiving recognition, but for an opportunity to leave, rather than achievements that should have been rewarded long ago. Of course, Marcus said through gritted teeth. Congratulations, Seline. Though I hope we can discuss this privately before any hasty decisions are made. The meeting limped through the remaining agenda items, but no one was really listening. People kept shooting me curious looks while Marcus struggled to maintain his executive authority. When he finally dismissed everyone, the room emptied with unusual speed, leaving just us two.
My office now. His tone had dropped all pretense of collegiality. I followed him down the hallway, aware that several colleagues were lingering near their desks, pretending to work while clearly hoping to overhear whatever conversation was about to unfold. Inside his office, he closed the door harder than necessary and turned to face me. "What the hell was that, Seline?" "A job offer," I replied calmly, "from our biggest client." "Don't get smart with me. How long have you been negotiating behind the company's back? This is a massive breach of professional ethics." I felt my composure wavering. After 3 years of watching him take credit for my work, his accusations of unethical behavior felt like the final insult. "Elena reached out yesterday. I haven't negotiated anything yet."
Yesterday? Marcus's eyes narrowed. You've known about this since yesterday and said nothing? While I was preparing crisis management strategies for an account that was apparently poaching my employees? The accusation hung in the air, heavy with implications I wasn't ready to accept. Elena didn't poach anyone, Marcus. She offered me a position because of my work quality, something you've consistently failed to recognize. His face flushed red. Failed to recognize? I've given you opportunities, mentorship, growth experiences. You've given me extra work while promoting people I trained. I interrupted, surprising myself with my directness. Sarah got the East Coast position I applied for twice. James got strategic partnerships after I created our entire partnership framework. When exactly did you recognize my contributions? Marcus moved behind his desk, using it as a barrier between us. This is bigger than your personal ambition, Seline. Meridian Industries is our largest client. If they're headhunting our staff, it suggests they're planning to cut ties with Pinnacle entirely. Or it suggests they value my work enough to want me leading their internal team, I countered. Elena specifically mentioned wanting to maintain the partnership. I'd actually be in a position to strengthen our relationship with them. Under their control instead of mine, he shot back, revealing his real concern. The honesty was refreshing, even if it confirmed everything I'd suspected about his motivations. This wasn't about company welfare or client relationships. It was about Marcus losing control over a narrative he'd carefully constructed. "Marcus," I said, sitting down without being invited, "let me ask you something. When was the last time you personally managed a Meridian campaign? When did you last speak directly with Elena about strategy?" His silence was answer enough. "I've been their primary contact for 18 months. I developed the retention strategies you just presented as your crisis management plan. Elena knows who actually does the work. And now you're planning to abandon the team that supported you?" The manipulation was so transparent it almost made me laugh. The team that supported me, or the team I've been supporting while watching others get promoted above me? His expression hardened. "If you take this job, you'll be burning bridges. The marketing world is smaller than you think." That evening, I sat in my apartment, staring at Elena's business card, turning it over in my hands like a talisman. The conversation with Marcus had left me emotionally drained, but also strangely liberated. For the first time in 3 years, I'd spoken my truth without worrying about professional consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Drinks tonight? I think we need to talk." 20 minutes later, we were seated in our usual corner booth at Murphy's, the dive bar 3 blocks from the office that had witnessed countless post-work venting sessions over the years. "I can't believe Elena called during the meeting," Sarah said, shaking her head. "The timing was incredible." "Incredible or terrible, depending on your perspective," I replied, taking a sip of my wine. She leaned forward. "Seline, I need to say something, and I hope you'll hear me out. I know you deserve that promotion. We all know it. When Marcus announced my new role yesterday, my first thought was that it should have been you." The admission hit harder than I expected. "Then why didn't you say something?" "Because I'm a coward," she said simply, "and because I convinced myself that there would be other opportunities for you. But watching Marcus's face when Elena made that offer, I realized how badly he's been treating you." We sat in silence for a moment before Sarah continued. "Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. It's everything I've wanted professionally, but it means leaving everyone I've worked with for 3 years. It means admitting that things here aren't going to change." "Maybe that's exactly what you need to admit," Sarah said gently.
Marcus isn't going to suddenly start recognizing your contributions. He's too invested in taking credit to share it now. She was right, and we both knew it. The pattern was too established, the power dynamics too entrenched. Even if Marcus offered me a promotion tomorrow, which he hadn't, it would be reactive damage control rather than genuine recognition. The money is incredible, I admitted. Nearly double what I make now. It's not just about money, though, is it? No, I said, finally articulating what I'd been feeling. It's about being valued. Elena sees what I can do and wants to give me the platform to do it. Marcus sees what I can do and wants to control it. The next morning brought an email that made my decision suddenly urgent. Staff meeting, 10 a.m., mandatory attendance. Marcus was clearly planning some kind of response to yesterday's revelation, and I suspected it wouldn't be pleasant. Before the meeting, I called Elena to discuss timeline expectations. Her assistant connected me immediately, suggesting this opportunity was as important to Meridian as it was to me. Seline, I was hoping to hear from you today. How are you feeling about our conversation yesterday? Honestly, overwhelmed but excited. The opportunity sounds incredible, and I'm definitely interested. I do have some questions about timing and transition logistics. Of course. What can I clarify? We spent 30 minutes discussing role specifics, team structure, and growth potential. Elena painted a picture of genuine leadership opportunity, building strategy from the ground up, rather than executing someone else's vision. When would you need an answer? I asked. Ideally by Friday. We're announcing the new division next week, and I'd love to include your appointment in the press release. Friday. 3 days to make a decision that would completely change my career trajectory. Elena, can I ask you something? Yesterday, Marcus suggested that hiring me away might damage Meridian's relationship with Pinnacle. How do you see that playing out? Marcus is worried about losing control, not losing our business. Honestly, having you in an oversight role might actually improve our partnership. You understand both sides of the equation. After hanging up, I felt a strange sense of calm. The decision wasn't about leaving Pinnacle. It was about finally stepping into the role I'd been preparing for my entire career. The staff meeting was exactly what I'd expected. Marcus positioning my job offer as a threat to company stability, while simultaneously trying to retain me with vague promises of future opportunities. He announced a new employee retention initiative that sounded suspiciously like panic. During his presentation, I made my choice. When he finished speaking and opened the floor for questions, I raised my hand. Marcus, I'd like to announce that I've accepted Elena Rodriguez's offer. My last day at Pinnacle will be next Friday. The 2 weeks following my announcement passed in a blur of transition meetings, client handovers, and surprisingly heartfelt farewell conversations. Word of my new role had spread throughout the office, creating an interesting dynamic. Colleagues suddenly viewing me as someone who'd successfully escaped, rather than someone abandoning ship. Marcus had oscillated between angry ultimatums and desperate counteroffers, finally settling on professional coldness when it became clear I wasn't changing my mind. His final offer, a promotion to senior account director with a 25% raise, came 3 days before my departure date. Too little, too late, and we both knew it. Any regrets? Kevin asked on my last day, helping me pack the personal items that had accumulated in my desk drawers over 3 years. I looked around the office that had been my professional home, at colleagues who'd become friends, at the conference room where I'd presented ideas that became other people's successes. About leaving? None. About waiting so long to advocate for myself? Definitely. Elena had arranged for me to start the following Monday, giving me a weekend to process the magnitude of change. Sunday evening, I stood in my apartment looking at the business cards I had collected over the years. Contacts built through networking events, client meetings, and industry conferences. Tomorrow, I'd be calling them as Director of Global Marketing Strategy for Meridian Industries rather than Account Coordinator at Pinnacle Marketing. The difference wasn't just in titles or salary. It was in how I saw myself and how others would see me. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Heard about your new role through the industry grapevine. Congratulations on the promotion you actually deserved. Tom Chen, VP of Marketing, Crestview Corp. Tom had been a client 2 years ago, someone I'd worked with extensively before the account transitioned to James. The fact that he'd tracked down my personal number to congratulate me suggested my reputation extended beyond Pinnacle's walls in ways I hadn't fully realized. Monday morning, I walked into Meridian's downtown office wearing my best suit and carrying a leather portfolio that felt like armor. Alana met me in the lobby, her genuine smile confirming I'd made the right choice. "Ready to build something amazing?" she asked. For the first time in years, my answer came without hesitation. Absolutely. 6 months later, I received a LinkedIn message from Sarah. Heard about your new role through the industry grapevine. Congratulations on the promotion you actually deserved. Sarah even included a link to the news article about Henderson Industries firing Pinnacle. The key reason they left Pinnacle was that their marketing team felt unvalued and disregarded. He even said it was like having to compete with their own marketing firm for consideration. Marcus's role in silencing their briefing and subsequently not fighting for their campaign was indisputable. I was loving the new role. More than loving it, I was thriving in ways I'd never imagined possible when I was sitting in that conference room watching others receive the recognition I'd earned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong about you, it's proving yourself right about your own worth. If Seline's story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you ever had your contributions overlooked while others got promoted? How did you handle it? Our community thrives on these shared stories of workplace justice and personal growth. Remember, your worth isn't determined by one person's failure to recognize it. Sometimes you have to be brave enough to find people who will. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story of professional triumph.